Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, thought we'd kind of come out and look at some corn and see what stage things are at and how things are developing, and probably something that is going to be of interest this year is how much variability there is between hybrids in a similar environment. We've got obviously a lot of stress that we've kind of been through this summer, and we've got moisture and heat and all these things we've had to deal with. And some hybrids handle a lot better than others, and I thought we'd show a couple of examples of that in the field. So we're out in one of our plots. This plot was planted the 26th of April. That's kind of a good time when a lot of stuff was really starting to go, so it's probably a good representative time frame. But we've got a hybrid here that I grabbed that it's more of a racehorse style. I think it did not enjoy the fact that it was too hot and we were short of moisture for a while. You can kind of see how it impacted that hybrid for nitrogen uptake and just stress overall in general after pollination. And I've got one that handled it very well. So I would look at that, and they're very similar maturities. So if we look at this hybrid, I cut a plant down so it's easier to see. You can see a lot of the burnt up leaves on the bottom of the plant. Nitrogen deficiency symptoms. We've got, a lot of stress on this ear development. And in doing that, we've got a lot of pollination issues after pollination with this ear. You can see it tip back a bunch. If you notice, a lot of these kernels, they pollinated. You can kind of see they pollinated, but they aborted. Typically, a kernel abortion on the ear tip like that happens in the first 10 days, maybe after pollination, 10 days to 2 weeks. So if we had something that pollinated a few days earlier or a few days later, that may be a benefit on some and a negative on others. It's just hard to say because we did have some variable weather in that mid to late July time frame when a lot of pollination was happening, and shortly after for early grain fill. But when you have all these kernels that pollinated like that and aborted, that's telling you that hybrid was not very happy when it was starting to do the early grain fill. This hybrid that I just showed you is a racehorse style, and I think the lack of moisture we had for a while, and then some of the warm nights after pollination, it basically decided I can't feed and be happy with this many kernels on this ear, so it aborted a bunch of them, and you can see what that is going to do to our yield. I've got another hybrid that handled it much better. You can see there's nothing that didn't pollinate on the tip, or everything pollinated and it hung on to it. And the bottom of that plant, this is the same number of leaves. And you can see the other one, we had a brown, completely cannibalized leaf on the bottom and some more symptoms. This one showing no symptoms on any of this plant. And that's what allowed us to finish that ear this way, and this is a stress tolerant hybrid. This one probably does not have as big a top end yield potential as the racehorse hybrid, but this year this one could be the winner. Matter of fact, it will be. Comparing these two, this will be better for sure. So again, it's a reminder why we don't plant all of last year's best hybrid or something that's really racy, because you just never know what kind of an environment we're going to get. But when we were short of moisture, this hybrid doesn't have as high a need for nitrogen either. So when we're struggling to get enough rain to keep this crop going, if you're not uptaking enough water, you're also not taking up enough nitrogen. So that's manifested itself in yield this year. So it is interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of variability in yields from field to field, maybe from hybrid to hybrid, just because of the extreme weather we've had. There's going to be a lot of differences, and there's going to be some winners and some losers in this, and again, it kind of reminds us why we diversify what we're planting, maturities and just hybrids in general, to not get married to something in a large amount of your acres all the time. But I think now is a good time. We've got this stuff is denting. Our GDU forecaster that's looking at growing degree units since planting forecasts this field to probably pollinate somewhere around the 10th of September. So if we got the 10th of September, that's not that far away from black layered corn, and I think we're going to see an early harvest, and we've kind of all figured that out probably, but it's going to be a pretty early time frame, and I think we're going to want to make sure we're on top of these from a harvest perspective, because if there's some cannibalizing of nitrogen, it's probably not going to be good for stalks. So, but just thought I'd touch on where we're at with the stage of development and the variation in some of these things that are going on out in the field with the weather we've had. Now is probably a good time to start going out and looking at your corn to see how things are going to, pan out, and see what things are going to be yielding for you. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.